You know, I'm first and foremost, people want to call me the Ghost Whisperer, but it's not like I go into Bob Evans and sit down and they come find me and say, help me cross over. I refer to myself as a conduit. I'm not at all a psychic. I'm not a mystic. I'm not a channeler. I'm not like that. I can walk in and basically hone in on enigmatic energies and see things or hear things or feel things that others may not be experiencing. But what's the real catch is when I go in and to an environment like that and other people around me are feeling or seeing the same thing. That's always a fact checker to make sure I'm not completely cracked. It's nice to have that happen sometimes. But when it comes to UFOlogy, yeah, I said sometimes, like there's other times where I want people to think I'm cracked. But anyway, you go to UFOlogy, Cryptozoology, Cerealology, which is the study of crop formations. That's my forte. Those are three things I dive into, indulge in, and most of my other team members, they think it's cool, they think it's really neat, but then I get a little too into the conspiracy theory aspect. Then they pull me back to keep me from getting taken and abducted in a black van and, you know, have all kinds of things shoved into my head, like implants or whatever.
Brings you back to the earlier proctology statement.
Oh yeah, what is this? A Freudian slip. I have to be hypnotized now to see if I was abducted.
I was looking over your bio and I actually seen that you have done some stuff up in Point Pleasant as far as the Mothman goes. Did you find anything interesting up there when you were into that?
A lot of the people that live there are very interesting. Talk about cracked, but God love those people. They've got good hearts, good minds, and they really, in their hearts, feel and believe that they saw or experienced something that could not be explained by modern science or even anything related to the United States military that we know of. The town itself started out primarily as a militarized town, and then after World War I ended, they basically disbanded all of the munitions depots and the swamp area, which that's why we have all those concrete igloos there. But I go to Point Pleasant about one week in a year, and it's like going to Mayberry every time. I pull in, they know it's me right away because I have the banners on my vehicle, P.P.R.I. They're always excited to see me. I get free food, I get free drink, free room and board there anytime I come in. It's a nice setup. And they always have me at the Mothman Festival. They have an actual festival. They always invite me to be a guest speaker there, and that's always a great way to bring in more of an audience, bring in more people, make new friends basically, and plus sell books. I'm all about selling books. What was that?
I said awesome, and then Brian said something at the same time, and yeah, we really got
Yeah, it was like a jumbled word. You were speaking Aramaic at first.
So in 2008, you wrote a book.
Right.
Called The Paranormal Chronicle: Tales of Humor, Horror, and the Absolutely Strange. Now that I could get into, because I'm all about the strange, the humor, and the horror. So it works. Why don't you tell everybody what the experience of writing all of your paranormal thoughts and experiences and whatever else is entailed within the book, what that experience was like for you?
That first book, really, most of those stories had remained in my mind from the age of me being a small child. My grandmother told me so many stories from where she grew up in the backwoods of Kentucky, telling me stories about a mountain witch that allegedly saved her from some weirdo child abductor who transient who just happened upon the town and was trying to steal chickens and farmers' daughters and things like that. He was probably just, a homeless guy hopping the trains, and people just mistook him for that, and then they stoned him to death or whatever. But needless to say, she told me the story about the mountain witch in her area that was on the backside of the Gooseneck Mountains in Kentucky. She told me a story pertaining to the Civil War, where her great-uncle served in the Civil War and something that happened to him in an abandoned plantation that had been burned almost to the ground by Union troops. Several other stories she had relayed to me. There were so many stories she had told me I could not possibly put them all in that first book. The first book was just a trial and error. I wrote it primarily just to have something to sell when I was a guest speaker at the Mothman Festival the first time in 2008. And I dedicated this piece, of course, to the memory of my grandmother and all the stories that she shared with me. And it ended up turning into an overnight phenomenon when I was at the Mothman Festival. People were buying them left and right. People were reading them and posting reviews on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. People were ordering them from Amazon, like different book forums and so forth on the internet. People were going on and talking about my book. There was one individual, she always shows up at these conventions, and she has a huge following online where she rates books and reviews books pertaining to paranormal phenomenon, and she gave me really high marks. And because of that, I ended up selling a lot more because people rely on her opinion before purchasing a book of that caliber.
Wow, that is awesome.
And of course,